joined by Sarah Lavin. Sarah, you've had a remarkable start, I suppose, to 2021 European indoors. But if we look back firstly 12 months ago to this time and the start of the lockdown, how much of an impact did it have on your training? And at that stage, I suppose there was still a possibility that the Olympics in Tokyo would actually take place in the summer of 2020.
Yeah. So it's been the most bizarre kind of 12 months for me, because the 1st of February, first race of the indoor season, I had hurt my ankle. So complete tear of ATFL, PTFL, and my deltoid ligament, which is like the structure, the sturdy part that kind of keeps your ankle together. And I really thought it was game over, because I guess it was up to Santry, and it has to follow a certain timeline. It's not a small injury, so it's devastated obviously for a few days, and then became really fortunate. Ger Hartman bumped into him in a cafe, and he's a friend of my coach Noel's, so and he really helped guide me. So I guess when the Olympics got cancelled, it was kind of like an extra life. I got, like, if you're playing Mario Kart and they give you that bonus life, that's kind of what I ended up getting, and I've just relished the opportunity since then, and taken it, and just been so appreciative for it. So it really, I suppose a lot of people struggled maybe with motivation, a lot of athletes who were presuming the Olympics was going ahead, but for me it was just like I couldn't believe my luck, to be perfectly honest, which I know I feel a bit guilty even saying, but I really couldn't.
When were you able to go back training then?
So I actually probably ran for the first time kind of late May. So that was that was mad, and then I was going up to the park in Castroy and cycling down, and it was just one of those times that, like, I was doing things I never thought I never imagined myself doing, but they all definitely helped. And we were allowed back onto the track then at the end of June, but my ankle was still kind of flaring up. It still kind of does after large impact training sessions, so I have to really manage it. But I got back. I think we were allowed onto the track at the end of June, and really worked on my speed, and domestically then competed quite a few races over my speed last summer, and kind of tried to push that on, because it wasn't as much impact on my ankle, and it wouldn't swell as much. So ran quite well, ran a few PBs over the flat 100 last summer, and then kind of didn't actually get to go out from blocks over a hurdle again until January 2021, because obviously we went into the winter hard training. So it was almost 12 months to the day that I went from being a flat out speed and back over hurdles. So wild, but at the same time I think I've got this kind of super ankle is what I'd like to call it now. It's not as mobile probably as my left. Doesn't look, it's a bit chunkier, but I avoided surgery, and I'm just so grateful, and I think that's really helped my training as well, is just entering every session with just gratitude, and not taking anything for granted, even the tough sessions that I would have normally dreaded.
Because it looked like we're going to miss out on the Olympics, and COVID gave you a second chance, if you like, has that taken the pressure off yourself, Sarah, that you're in kind of,
bonus territory?
Exactly.
Yeah, I suppose you could say it like that, but at the same time, it's top 40 in the world that are going to make the cut, 29th of June. At the moment I'm in there by the skin of my teeth, but it's Olympic year, and everyone's going to step up their game when we start racing outdoors. So I have to really try to push myself up those rankings without getting knocked down. So yeah, it's going to be tight. I've no doubt about that. And we're just working hard every day. All I can see is my lead, my trail, trying to bring this speed with my hurdle technique, which I don't think I've quite perfected yet. Obviously indoors it was fantastic to PB 6 times, which, if an athlete can say that once in a year, they consider it a success. And to have waited 7 years and suddenly be able to say 6 different occasions in 6 weeks that today I'm better than I've ever been was really special, and I was so grateful that to be able to say that as well on an Olympic year is massive. So yeah, like I'm happy with where I'm at. I hope my coach is happy with where I'm at, but ultimately I missed out on the European final by one spot. I know what it's like from having a successful youth and a successful junior career to make a final and to be on a podium, and ultimately that's why I work hard every day is to achieve those things. So yeah, I think I'm getting closer. It's almost like a second revamp or turbo boost to my career, and hopefully I can maximize in obviously this year, hopefully making the Olympics, and the next 3-4 years. I think it could be pretty special, and the fact that the calendar has become so compact now, if you hit it right for these few years, you've got to hit every competition possible, because there's Worlds, there's another Olympics in 2024, you know, so everything's coming hot and heavy, and Europeans as well. So yeah, it's exciting, and I'm 26, so it's not far from being done yet, you know. And I think that was one thing as a junior, probably was trying to fill Derval's boots very quickly. I was 19, 20. She won her last medal at 32, 33. Still relatively young. Even if my brother and sister tell me otherwise. But yeah, they I think, like, as an athlete, there's still a good few years left in me.
And do you put your improvement in consistency down to technique? Is it getting stronger physically? Is it confidence? Is there any one thing you can put your finger on as to why you've managed to get so consistent and your times have continued to come down?
I think in 2019 I came back to Limerick, and had quite a consistent season. Finished 4th at the World University Games, and just missed out by 300ths of a second of breaking my personal best on 2 occasions. I was very, very consistent, and I think around 13-2 5 times. And I'd only ever done that once before in 2014. And I guess because I didn't PB, it kind of maybe went under the radar a tiny bit. And again, just missing out on one spot from a medal. But I do credit being back in Limerick. I'm very happy here. I have great people in my life. And ultimately, Noelle Marcy, I mean, of course, she was always coaching me, but we've more one-to-one time now. And it's such a technical event that I think the fact that she's seeing more of me and I'm seeing more of her, because I have to feel it, but she has to see it. And when we can do that more often, it just creates more opportunity for improvement. So I think it's a couple of things. Also, like, UL is 8 minutes from my house, so it's everything's very easy. So I think, yeah, a couple of factors came into kind of an improvement from 2019. I don't think it's just happened, say, since Christmas or anything like that.
Sure. One of the things you were able to do, I suppose, as an elite athlete in the early months of the year was overseas travel, foreign travel. Get on an airplane that was probably 95% empty.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to obviously compete in a couple of warm-up events ahead of Poland in the European indoors. What was that like? And what was the Polish experience like compared to normal championships with crowds where you can mix freely with people?
It's all very strange. Like, I mean, even, you know, my friends, they're like, oh, you're so lucky you get to go on a plane. And I'm there thinking, it's not a good time. It's so stressful. You have so much paperwork. I had somewhere between 20 to 30 tests in that 6-week period. Like, and you're constantly afraid that you're going to get stuck in a foreign country for 2 weeks and not be able to get home. So you're there just sanitizing all the time, double layering up masks, visors. Don't even want to take a drop of water on a plane, because so it's just like constantly. And when you get to these countries, also, they're also experiencing the exact same thing as us. So you're lucky to have the supermarket open. Everywhere is shut down. You know, it's not like Vienna didn't look like what anyone would imagine Vienna to look like. Neither did Ostrava. They're ghost towns. Everywhere is a ghost town. And even Madrid, you know, it's just very different. So, because you're talking to friends that are like, oh, I can't wait till we can go on holidays, and you're like, yeah, well, the pandemic has to be over everywhere in order for you to see what you see yourself doing on holidays. So yeah, I think it's very difficult to run. It's just funny not having the crowd, and you know, because normally if you go to a big meet, there's a crowd, and obviously it's not there, but you don't really notice it because athletes and coaches are allowed in the stand, and you're so focused on your lane and what's in front of you and what you have to do to execute. I don't really know, do I notice much anyway from the crowd, but Yeah, it's just a whole other experience, isn't it? I mean, everything's just so different. But by the time you reach the line, it's the easy part because you've overcome so much to get to that, particularly say for not the championship, you know, obviously Athletics Ireland are very much have the administration side of that done. But when you're traveling individually, you really have to be on the ball. Say going from Slovakia to Czech Republic, do you have everything for crossing the border? Because it's all different forms that you have to fill out. Some countries want your test within 48 hours, 72 hours. Amsterdam, you need to have rapid antigen on top of that within 4 hours of your flight. So you're just constantly trying to, and then like when we were out in Czech, we were leaving the hotel at literally 5 a.m. and something woke me early and I just ran by complete fluke, just checked what time the flight was. There's a big red line through it and it had just been cancelled. So you're constantly just trying to find another way to get home, and obviously you only have a certain time period for your test to stand. So it's very different. And I think, like, say for the team sports that are traveling, it's a little bit easier because somebody has that role. Like it was definitely easier from that side of things when you're traveling, say for a championship. But when you're individually going to say a world indoor tour, you just have to step up, you know what I mean, and be on the ball for everything.